Hi, ladies and gentlemen, the Four Seasons Pavilion here at Brady's Run Park, where today the Democratic Party of Beaver County got together under the direction of their headman, Lou Gentile, broke a little bread and enjoyed some wonderful picnic food and some adult beverages, and they are always responsible, ladies and gentlemen. So let's welcome to this podcast broadcast, of course, 10th District, my friend Jared Gibbons. You've heard him many times on KDK. He's what you call the very bright future. And speaking of future, here she is running for Congress, ladies and gentlemen, Erin McClellan from the 12th District. Tony Amadeo, of course, he's your Beaver County Commissioner. Center Planning Commission, Frank Vesio, and of course, running for the 15th District, of course, State Representative Mike Rossi, longtime member and a great union man from Verizon. And ladies and gentlemen, I've only done this a million times, but here we go one more time. 25 years on the state police, the man behind CSI Investigators, former head of the DEA in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, my friend, and of course, he is Lou Gentile. Lou, this is what you call a picnic. Thanks for inviting us.
This is a picnic. This is what we call a homecoming. This is a collaboration of people who come from different walks of life, different philosophies, different visions. But the one vision they have is that one particular vision of the Democratic Party. People here represent everything that we're about. We're about equality, we're about social justice, we're about the middle class, we're about opportunities, we're about health care. This is what we're about. And no other party can make that claim. They could make that claim, but the people here at this table have evidenced it by virtue of what they have done, not by virtue of what they claim to do. That happens every 2 or 4 years. These are people who have done what we're talking about, so I will leave it to them.
All right, let's talk to Jared Gibbons. And I was in your neck of the woods, Elwood City, a great community, visiting the Elwood City SOI, and I saw my friends from the Monaca SOI. Why can't we have the synergy that these great Italian social clubs have and get together? And it's all about communicating, breaking bread, and talking. And one of the things that I've always admired about you, even during our early morning wake-up calls when you were in the midst of feeding your children, you always were about going out and talking to people and trying to bring everyone together. Is that possible with the way politics and especially parties are so fractured today?
I think it is. We actually saw a lot of that in Harrisburg this year when we were working on the state budget, when we were working to resolve some issues. Now, if you had asked me that same question a year ago, I would have said maybe not. We went through a rough year last year. We were very politically divided. Things are starting to come back, at least in the legislative side. But on the political side, unfortunately, I think we are seeing a lot of very diverse opinions. Some real extremism on some of these issues, and it's made it hard to get things done, unfortunately. But I think as a Democratic Party, one thing that we are trying to do is be that big tent that we always have been, open to new ideas, as Lou said, open to that, those thoughts of how can we make our community better. And as long as we continue to be that big open tent who wants to do things for the working class, for the middle class, for the families, for all people, I think we can make that happen. And I think we can even work across the lines, hopefully, with some Republicans who are still able to do that. But we want to make sure we can get as many Democrats in there who have that philosophy as possible.
All right, Erin, I know just about everybody, but this was the first time that I met you, so I'd like to shake your hand and welcome you to Beaver County today.
Thank you.
Democratic Governor Tom Wolf said it perfectly about the Shell plant. This is the biggest development since the end of World War II. The last thing that we can have right now are people taking jabs at each other when there's so much potential on the table. You see it in the presidential election. Hillary Clinton trying to stay on point. Donald Trump, well, he gets off the beaten path from time to time, but you can't argue with what he did as far as coming from nowhere to grab the Republican nomination. So what do you do to make people talk about what really matters most, and that's middle-class jobs, having strong communities, strong police forces, and more importantly, good public school systems and money coming into the coffers, so when people like Jared and if Mike gets elected are trying to get budgets passed, there's actually money that's going to go back to the Commonwealth.
Yeah, the budgeting process has been an issue at the state and the federal levels, and I think the reason is it used to be that we looked at budgeting as a sort of a balance sheet issue, profit and loss, and Rockefeller Republicans and Democrats agreed on a lot of things. When you look at things like prevailing wage, which was passed originally by Republicans, it was because we knew that making sure the working class, who's ultimately our purchasing power, had good livable wages, because those are the people that spend. When you see very, very wealthy people, they're not going into the pizza shops of Beaver County. They're not getting their hair done in the beauty shops of Beaver County. They're not funding those small businesses. So the idea of making sure that the people that spend the most and actually put real viability into our economy have enough to live off of has sort of been lost. And what we've gone to is sort of this process where we campaign in, 127 characters or less, and we pick these sort of button issues instead of really talking about a balance sheet, a profit and loss statement. And the average person will say, well, we need to cut this or we need to do that. But when you look at it in context, this is not about one particular program. And if you're running for office on one program, you're missing the big picture. Budgeting is a massive process. It overarches every aspect of our spending and our income. So if you're going to just say we're going to hack into this piece or that piece, that's a hatchet job. Nobody runs a business that way. Nobody runs an organization that way, and we should not run a government organization that way. So if we can get back to really looking at numbers, data, and talking to people about how we're not going to take our worst problems and dump it on our most vulnerable citizens, but we're going to invest in our infrastructure, our education, our economy, our working class, and our national security, which includes our first responders, and they've been left out of that conversation in a way that actually grows this economy and moves us all forward together, then I think that that's an inarguable goal. And if you're talking about that, you're winning. And I think that's why Hillary Clinton's going to really rout in this election.
Well, listen, Tony Amadeo was here recently. He was at the ribbon cutting ceremony. $60 million invested by Shell just to revamp Route 18. Congratulations on that. And those are the stories that I like to talk about, because if we can get those on the front page, we won't have county employees going through what they're going through. And I've said this before, and I was talking to a good friend, Mike Roma, who's on in the afternoons on WBBP, a great talk show host who's been a friend of mine for 30 years. Look, these people who've worked in county government, they put the sweat equity into it. They deserve what everybody else gets after 30 years of work out in the workforce. So how do we get more good news? What can you do in government to get more news done? And I'm going to talk to Frank Vesio about what they're doing in the private sector to make that possible. But from a government standpoint, what do you do?
What we've been doing is building infrastructure. The power plant, the cracker plant itself could not have happened if it was not for Center Township and the infrastructure.
Right.
A long time ago, a lot of money was invested in water and sewer, to the point now where they were able to extend the excess capacity to the plant so that the plant could in fact go there. That coupled with the fact that the Shell people gave the Center Water Authority $69 million to expand water capacity. I think now they're going to have capacity for the next 100 years. Center Township, I think, had 35 years worth of capacity, and excess capacity, and now they're going to be at 100 years. I think that was the most important thing that happened in recent times. As far as the Shell plant, 4 years ago they came to us. They gave us a plan. They said exactly what they were going to do. They followed the plan, and as I said before in the paper, it's the first time that I saw government in my tenure come together for the good of the people.
Frank, you and I were talking about a drive that you and Chief Barry Kramer had from Center Township, who's actually going to be on KDK with me shortly to be talking about law enforcement in the community today. The new fire station, we talked about the water plant, so many things that are happening in a good way. We've got one of the strongest school systems I've seen anywhere. Sarge Albert for many years at Center High School, I saw earlier before I became our athletic director and basketball coach. So you got to keep it rolling. But one of the things that concerns me, and you come from a merchandising background, 40 years at Sears. I'm not happy about Sears not being here, and I'm not happy about the Beaver Valley Mall being in the headlines about possibly not being here anymore. I want Shell to come here, but I want those people who've been going to work every day for Macy's for the last 30 years to be able to walk out on that last day and get their gold watch and retire. What can you do to share the wealth of Center Township?
Oh, the same thing as what we're doing all these other years, even before Shell came. We promote our township, we promote Beaver County, and I think that's what you have to do. Most towns don't market what they have, and we have done that for the last 20 years. And retail is going to change dramatically. So there's a whole big change that's coming. We have to be there to find out what the change is going to be and get behind it and take the barriers out to make it happen.
All right, Mike Rossi is here, longtime member of Verizon and a big proponent of union wages, and actually was at the gazebo at Beaver talking on behalf of the nurses at Heritage Valley. And the good news is they have got a settlement there, and I'm happy for their CEO, Norm Mitri, and the wonderful nurses who are there, the true backbone of that hospital, which happens to be Beaver County's employees. So talk to me about the 6,700 union workers that are coming here to build this wonderful cracker plant. And more importantly, once they're done, we'll have something of significance, Mike, so if you get elected, you can build on that.
Yes, bringing 6,700 union jobs here, you know, it spreads out so much. It creates job after job after job. Those people spend money. Union people, working class people spend money. And when you spend money, your economy grows. Your Center Township's going to hit a jackpot. Potter. with hotels, different restaurants coming into the area, and it's all because they're paying good, they're making good wages. You cannot pay people less than what their value is. You have professional people coming, building this cracker plant, building all the industry around it. You have to pay them what they're worth. And if you don't, you lose that. And we lost that a long time ago. Fortunately, we're bringing it back. But it's very key that at least the prevailing wage, those people spend money. And like Aaron said, it's not the super wealthy that spend the money in your district. It's the working class people, the residents of the Center Townships and the Potter Townships and the Aliquippas and the Hopewells. Those people spend money, and that's what makes the world go round.
All right.